You are about to witness the true story of human skin. Not the story of beauty standards or social hierarchies, but the story of survival written across your body over 300,000 years. Every single human being who walked this earth until very recently had dark skin. Let that sink in. The first Homo sapiens evolved in the blistering heat of Africa, under a sun that never showed mercy. Their bodies were not pale or brown or olive as you see today. They were deeply dark rich with melanin, because without that protection, life itself was impossible. Melanin is not just a pigment. Melanin is your body's most ancient and most powerful shield. Think of it as a natural sunscreen that lives inside your skin cells, absorbing dangerous ultraviolet radiation before it can slice through your DNA like a tiny knife. When UV rays hit your skin, they cause mutations. Most mutations are harmless, but some lead to skin cancer, a disease that even modern medicine struggles to defeat. For our ancestors, skin cancer was a death sentence. But melanin stopped that disaster before it could start. That alone would have been enough reason for evolution to favor dark skin. However, there is another even more critical reason. Folate. Vitamin B9. This is not a vitamin you hear about in casual conversation, but it is the absolute cornerstone of reproduction. A pregnant woman with low folate levels cannot carry a healthy baby to term. The baby's neural tube, which becomes the brain and spinal cord, fails to close properly. Severe birth defects, like spina bifida, become almost certain. And here is the terrifying part for early humans. Strong UV radiation does not just cause sunburn. It directly destroys folate circulating in your blood. Imagine you are a pregnant woman living in Africa 50,000 years ago. Your body needs every microgram of folate to grow a healthy child. But the same sun that gives you light is quietly destroying that folate through your skin. Unless you have dark skin. Dark. Skin blocks the UV rays so effectively that your folate remains intact. That is why dark skin was not just an advantage. It was a requirement for the survival of our species. Without dark skin, human babies would have been born with severe brain and spinal cord defects generation after generation. Evolution would have ended before it began. So for hundreds of thousands of years, every human on Earth had dark skin. There were no exceptions. Then everything changed. Between 70,000 and 100,000 years ago, small groups of humans began walking out of Africa. They moved into the Middle East, then into Asia, then into Europe. They had no maps, no compasses, no idea that they were about to face an entirely different set of rules. The sun in Northern Europe and Northern Asia is weak. It is pale and distant, especially in winter. For months at a time, the sky is gray and the sun barely rises above the horizon. And that created a deadly new problem. Vitamin D. Your body needs sunlight to make vitamin D. Specifically, UVB rays hit your skin and convert cholesterol into vitamin D. That vitamin D is not optional. Without it, your body cannot absorb calcium. Without calcium, your bones become soft and bend. Children develop rickets, a disease where their legs curve inward and their pelvises deform. For women, a deformed pelvis is a death sentence during childbirth. The baby cannot pass through the birth canal. Both mother and child die. So now imagine a dark-skinned person living in Northern Europe 10,000 years ago. Their skin is packed with melanin blocking UV rays perfectly. That same protection that saved them from skin cancer and folate destruction is now preventing them from making vitamin D. They are literally starving for sunlight. Their bones weaken, their immune systems collapse, their children are born with rickets, and over thousands of years, those with slightly lighter skin have a tiny advantage. They produce just a little more vitamin D. Their babies survive just a little more often. Evolution does not care about skin color. Evolution cares about who lives long enough to reproduce. And in the North, lighter skin meant life. That is the brutal, elegant truth. Skin color is not about race. Skin color is about latitude. Populations near the equator stayed dark because UV radiation is intense year-round. Populations far from the equator evolved lighter skin because weak sunlight made vitamin D production the #1 priority. But here is where the story gets even more fascinating. The first Europeans were not white. Not even close. We know this because of ancient DNA. Scientists have sequenced the genome of a man called Cheddar Man who lived in what is now England about 10,000 years ago. His bones were found in a cave in Somerset. And what did his DNA reveal? He had dark skin, almost black by modern standards. He also had blue eyes. Imagine that. A dark-skinned, blue-eyed man walking through ancient forests of Britain. That was the reality. The classic pale skin and blonde hair that many associate with Europe did not appear until much later. In fact, the genes for light skin spread through Europe in 2 major waves. First, a gene called SLC24A5, which is now found in nearly all Europeans, appeared only about 8,000 to 10,000 years ago. It came from ancient farmers who migrated from the Middle East. A second gene, called SLC45A2, spread even later. So for most of European prehistory, people had dark or olive skin. They were not white. They were not black in the modern African sense either. They were something else entirely. And the same story happened in Asia. East Asians like the Han Chinese and Japanese developed lighter skin independently from Europeans using completely different genes. One key gene in East Asians is called OCA2, not the same as the European genes. This is what scientists call convergent evolution. Two different populations facing similar environmental pressures, low UV. UV radiation evolved similar traits, but through different genetic pathways. That alone destroys any notion of race as a biological reality. Skin color is not a deep, unchanging marker of difference. Skin color is a shallow, recent adaptation that has changed multiple times in multiple directions across human history. Now let us talk about blue eyes, because that is a mind-blowing chapter on its own. Every single blue-eyed person on this planet shares one common ancestor. A single person who lived 6,000 to 10,000 years ago, somewhere near the Black Sea. That person had a mutation in a gene called HERC2, which essentially turned off the switch for brown eye pigment in their iris. No brown melanin in the front layer of the iris means blue eyes. That mutation spread not because it provided any survival advantage. Blue eyes do not help you see better. They do not protect you from the sun or help you make vitamin D. Blue eyes spread because of sexual selection. People found them attractive, and attractiveness drove reproduction. So a random neutral mutation became common in Europe and parts of Asia simply because it was beautiful. That is evolution working in strange, unpredictable ways. But the biggest shift in skin color evolution happened only in the last 10,000 years, with the invention of agriculture. Before farming, humans were hunter-gatherers. They ate meat, fish, nuts, seeds, and wild plants. Many of those foods, especially liver and fatty fish, are rich in vitamin D. So even in northern latitudes, hunter-gatherers with dark skin could get enough vitamin D from their diet. They did not need to rely solely on sunlight. Then came agriculture. Humans started growing wheat, barley, rice, and corn. These grains are very low in vitamin D. Suddenly, the diet that had sustained dark skin for thousands of years disappeared. Now people had no choice but to make vitamin D from sunlight. And if their skin was too dark, they could not make enough. So natural selection for light skin became incredibly intense. In just a few thousand years, which is a blink of an eye in evolutionary terms, Northern Europeans and Northern Asians became much lighter skinned. Agriculture literally changed the color of human skin. That is not a metaphor, that is a biological fact. But let us step back and appreciate the full scope of this journey. For over 290,000 years, every human was dark-skinned. Then in the last 10,000 years, light skin evolved multiple times independently. That means light skin is not the original human condition. Light skin is a recent localized adaptation like fur thickness in Arctic animals. It is not more advanced. It is not more civilized. It is not a sign of superiority or purity. It is simply a response to weak sunlight and a grain-based diet. And here is the most important message for today. None of these evolutionary pressures apply anymore. You can live in Sweden with the darkest skin on Earth and never develop rickets because vitamin D is added to your milk and cereal. You can live in Nigeria with the palest skin on Earth and never get skin cancer because sunscreen is available at every pharmacy. Modern technology has completely uncoupled skin color from survival. Fortified foods, vitamin D supplements, broad-spectrum sunscreen, protective clothing, air conditioning, indoor jobs, healthcare for skin cancer, and birth defects. All of these have made the old evolutionary rules irrelevant. Your skin color no longer determines whether you live long enough to have children. That is a miracle of human innovation. But it also creates a dangerous gap. Our bodies still carry the ancient programming. A dark-skinned person living in a northern city with low sunlight can still develop vitamin D deficiency if they do not eat fortified foods or take supplements. Their skin is doing exactly what evolution designed it to do, blocking UV rays.